The Department of Employment and Labour says there is room to conduct further research on work hours in South Africa. Responding to a parliamentary question and answer session this past week, the department said the investigations into reducing work hours had been conducted in the past. The country's current 45-hour maximum work week was one of the markers of the research. However, it suggested that further research and new studies need to be conducted, looking at the possibility of reducing them further. Thembinkosi Mkalipi is the Chief Director of Labour Relations in the Department of Employment and Labour. He joins us now to discuss this matter further. So we saw reports suggesting earlier on that 29 businesses have hopped on to this pilot project to see how this experiment would work, the four-day week. What have we gathered so far, and have there been vast cost implications?
Well, what you're talking about the companies that have started to work 4 days weeks is not the Department of Government initiative. It's an initiative of private institution and private individual. What we're talking about is whether should the law be amended. Remember, the law presently requires that employees not to work more than 45 hours. And we did research about 10 years ago, and the results of that research indicated that there was no need to make the changes. And now we're saying in that answer that we need to look at that and see whether things have changed since that research. And bearing in mind that two things, that hours of work in South Africa, although in terms of the law, it requires 45 hours, in many industries that where there's collective bargaining and trade unions present, the hours of work are around on average 42 hours. And as you know, in the public sector, the hours of work is 40 hours a week. And in many big industries in the economy, it's 42 hours. The other issue, before you make a decision to reduce hours of work, you must bear in mind that the national minimum wage is an hourly rate. Now, if you reduce hours of work and workers work less hours, it's got implication on what they take home. Therefore, if they work present 45 hours, they get paid 45 hours. If you reduce them to 40 hours to 42 hours, the possibility of them then taking home 42 hours work instead of 45 hours work affect their take-home pay. These are all the things, the issues that need to be looked at if we are going to reduce working hours. And that's why we're saying if we need to, we can start a research to see whether the results of the research that we did 10 years ago, if we do it now, will it give us different results?
And I ask this, Mr. Mkalipi, because we've seen in countries like the UK and other countries in Europe, they themselves have undertaken their own research, which they keep on releasing the findings thereof. And questions have been abound about what type of model would suit the South African context. So I'm just wondering where you are canvassing the information. We've already, as I mentioned, seen some of that happen here at home. So what would be in consideration, because others have said perhaps it won't benefit all sectors or industries this 4-day week?
Well, it's going to be difficult to say upfront what will be issues that will be considered. As we said in the answer to that question in Parliament, that there might be a need to have further research. Therefore, we will wait for that research if it does take place and see what it tells us. But when we work on hours of work, we're talking about changes in the Basic Condition of Employment Act. Now, if the Basic Condition of Employment Act says that no worker should work less than 40 hours, then that's what is going to be in all the sectors. But if it says that it gives it over to employers, allow employers to determine their hours of work and give a range and say you can have a range between 40 and 45, then you determine where you work, that's a different issue. But I mean, when you want to look at the standard, you need not only to look at Europe only, you must look at also what's happening in Africa, what's happening in the Americas, in countries that are in the same size with us and that have got the same kind of difficulty with us. As I've said, that the minimum wage rate is based on an hourly rate. What do you say to those workers now if all of a sudden they are going to take less home? All of those issues need to be taken into consideration if we are going to go that route.
But do you, from the preliminary discussions that you're having, the findings that are coming through, believe that there really is a chance of better productivity, greater retention and attraction of talent, better work-life balance? We are struggling at the moment with low levels of growth, not only the current circumstances, but given the post-COVID environment, there's been a disruption that has impacted us, but also shown us that there are different ways of doing things.
Well, at this stage, I mean, the discussion, whatever discussion that is taking place at NETLEC in all the institutions that are involved in this, it's at a very early stage. It's difficult to say. But there are two things that, for us, are important in making the decision whether to reduce working hours or not. It's what effect will that have on jobs? Will it create an environment where more workers will be employed? If the answer to that is positive, then we're all definitely going to be positive looking at the rate of unemployment. If the answer to that question is that this might create more unemployment, then we might be a little bit reluctant in going that route. And that's why research is important. That will tell us what will be the effect. Apart from the loss in income that workers who are vulnerable might face, those two issues are important to us, the effect on employment.
But on principle, do you believe, though, that a split day could mean a faster rate of industrialization? Because there are some industries who would benefit from, because they would ideally like to have a 24-hour production day, but also some companies switching off machinery, midday actually has higher cost implications.
The law as it is now, I think we need to understand this. Nothing prevents companies reducing working hours to whatever they want. The law says workers are not allowed to work more than this. Therefore, they can work 40 hours, they can work 20 hours, they can work 23 hours. That's why I'm saying in the public sector, it's 40 hours. In companies where there are unions, there's been collective bargaining, they work around about 42 hours. It's only in the domestic sector, farming, and smaller companies where they work 45 hours. Therefore, the law does not restrict companies in introducing lesser work hours.
It's just about how they design it. Point taken. Thank you very much. Thembinkosi Mkalipi is the Chief Director of Labour Relations at the Department of Employment and Labour.